Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video on the 3D Critic channel. Today I'm going to give you guys my performance review on the Air Jordan 40s. This was an elusive pair to get ever since it came out originally in August in the black and white colorway. And when it came to the UNC colorway, I was unfortunately unable to get that pair as well due to the very high demand of it. It is a very highly anticipated shoe and I couldn't wait to get myself a pair of these. So I was able to get the Dusty Rose colorway, reserving it through Foot Locker. So if you guys were able to get that, you're very fortunate. And there are some pairs on Nike.com's website. So if you guys have a chance to grab yourself a pair, I will try to leave links down below in the description box. And very highly anticipated shoe ever since the Jordan 39s came out, with the overall build that you got and the performance that I got out of that. So I was curious to see if there are going to be any upgrades to it and any revisions as far as the overall package that you get. As far as retail goes, they do retail for a little over $200 right now, if I'm not mistaken. So once again, if you guys are interested, I'll try to leave links down below in the description box. Now, as far as sizing goes, I would go true to size for me personally, even though at first it does feel quite snug with the overall width of the shoe being nice and conformed, and the length of the shoe is pretty much perfect as far as the length is concerned. But initially it does start off pretty one-to-one and a little snug at first, and it does break more in over time to give it like a little bit more room inside the shoe. But regardless, I would still go true to size with a nice conformed width and a right amount of length when it comes to the length of the shoe itself. So for sizing, I would go true to size. For a narrow footed, you should be fine going true to size. Maybe go down a half size to get more accommodated to the fit. And for wide footers, you should be fine going up half a size in that case. So as far as sizing goes, it's pretty much basic. It just takes some time to break in, and it does expand over time when it comes to the sizing. The traction features a semi-translucent rubber here in the forefoot and cuts off in the middle of the forefoot with regular rubber that transitions all the way into the bag. And the overall pattern features this diamond herringbone traction pattern. And at first, to me, these did not feel great right out of the box. When it came to side movement, it was very slippery, and when it came to stopping on a dime, it did have a good bit of give, and it picked up quite a bit of dust too, so it required a little bit of time to break in when it came to the grip of the shoe and the dusting phase that you're going to get as well. But once you go through that phase after like a day's worth of playing in it, it actually performs pretty well and very reminiscent to the Jordan 39s in my opinion, where you do get really nice grip when it came to lateral movements going side to side, and it felt overall pretty quick. And when it came to vertical movements, hard stops felt very good, and you're able to get a nice quick first step, so you're going to have a nice push off when it came to that as well. And when it came to dust, like I said before, it does pick up quite a bit of dust initially, and you do have to wipe consistently when it came down to it. However, over time, the more you broke in the rubber, it didn't really pick up that much dust. So it does go through a dusting phase at the end of the day. Just be sure to keep up with your wipes and you will be fine. And as far as durability goes, it is very durable from a surprising standpoint in my opinion, because the grooves are quite thin and the rubber is quite on the flimsy side of things. So very surprising I didn't experience that much wear in the higher areas when it came down to it. And throughout the whole outsole, I don't experience that much wear through the entire outsole itself with the translucent rubber and the regular rubber itself. So in my opinion, you should be fine because of that case, be able to play in these outdoors. Just be mindful that the grooves are kind of shallow, and if you introduce these outdoors, it might burn off quite quickly, even though the rubber is on the harder side of things. So just be mindful of that. You should be able to play in these outdoors. Just be mindful that the grooves are on the shallow side of things. So yeah, at the end of the day, it does take some time to get used to, because it does have to go through like a warm-up phase as well as the dusting phase. And once you do that, it provides a really solid grip laterally and vertically, and very reminiscent of the Jordan 39s in my opinion. Now moving into the cushioning setup, it features a full-length ZoomX midsole along with a full-length Zoom Strobel unit, and to compare it, it's basically the cushioning setup that you get in the Jordan 39s, but it is upside down. And when it came to overall how it felt, it did not feel really good in the beginning. It did feel like a pile of bricks when it came down to it, and felt quite heavy under my foot. It is forgiving nonetheless when it came to the overall cushioning. In terms of the heel cushioning, it is nice and forgiving, and it has really nice compression, and as a result of that, the impact protection is very solid. But when it came to the forefoot cushioning, at first it felt very sluggish and not as responsive as I would have liked, even though you do get the Zoom Strobel unit and the ZoomX foam getting nice and bouncy. But over time, the more you break it in, it actually opens up to actually be a nice responsive feel, and you do get a relatively nice bounce under your foot as well. The more you break it in, it actually feels a little bit more lighter on foot, which is kind of a weird experience at first, but over time, the more I broke it in, it actually felt a lot better, and I was able to get used to it a little bit more. So just be mindful of that as far as the overall feel goes. It does feel really sluggish, and you do have to get used to it to the point where it's actually manageable on foot. As far as fluidity goes, it is nice and fluid. Given the ZoomX midsole, it is nice and forgiving, and even though it is caged within this caging that you get throughout the entire shoe and this big plastic foot that you get in the back, it actually feels nice and fluid and very forgiving. So basically feels like a marshmallow on foot. And with the Zoom Strobel unit, you are going to get a little bit of a snappier feel. That way you're able to get up and down the court pretty easily. So yeah, very weird experience when it comes to the cushioning setup itself. Quite the opposite direction when it came to the Jordan 39s, where you did feel it right away. So yeah, very weird as far as the overall cushioning setup is concerned. At first, it does feel very sluggish on foot and does feel like you are moving around in a pair of bricks, in my opinion. So the more you break it in, and over time you will start to get used to it. That way you get to experience the Zoom Strobel unit's responsiveness and the overall springy feel that you're going to get as well. But with the ZoomX foam, it is nice and comfortable and forgiving, so you're going to have a nice fluid ride under your foot as well. Now, diving into the materials themselves, you're going to get this glossy leather material here in the forefoot that extends into the lateral and medial side of the shoe, with regular leather throughout the lace line and extends into these panels here on the back half of the shoe. The tongue itself has some nice mesh padding with some leather padding here on the top, which has decent padding as well. And you also get a separate ankle collar here with some nice padding, as well as pretty decent Achilles padding as well. And as far as how it feels on foot, they are very comfortable, to say the least. They do take a little bit of time to break in because they do feel pretty stiff at first, but with a little bit of breaking time, it actually feels nice and forgiving, and you get very nice flexes here in the forefoot, which does feel pretty good overall. Didn't have any pinching throughout the forefoot, and the same thing goes here in the midfoot. Didn't experience any lace irritations throughout the midfoot, and the padding is adequate enough. That way I didn't experience any pinching on the top of the midfoot. The ankle padding here is very nice and feels very forgiving, as well as in the heels. So very nice and comfortable padding throughout the shoe, and it was very forgiving on foot. As far as the aesthetics go, it is very simplistic when it comes to the overall design of the shoe. I also like the materials that you get throughout this, but I do prefer the materials in other shoes with the regular leather that you get, whereas in this you get this glossy leather, which does create some imperfections, such as the scuffing here that you get here in the forefoot, and you do experience some creasing here in the forefoot, which is a little gnarly after a while. So be mindful of that when it comes to the glossy material that you get, apart from the regular leather that you're going to get in the other Jordans. So very simplistic when it comes to the design, but it does look very nice overall. And as you dig deeper into the shoe, especially inside the midfoot with the cufflink laces, it does bring out some callbacks to when Jordan started and when he won all of his rings in the NBA Finals. So a very nice callback, and given that it is the 40th shoe, it has a plethora of callbacks here, such as the 40 embalmed in the Achilles padding that you get in the back, and the overall aesthetic choice that you get, very simplistic and reminiscent to older Jordans in his line. And I also like the fact that the laces are reflective, as well as the top of the tongue, which does make it shine, especially when you're out at night going out and stuff like that. So very hard to miss as far as that goes with the reflective materials. So at the end of the day, very comfortable materials, very premium materials, and it is a big significant jump compared to the Jordan 39s as well as the Jordan 38s, and a very far cry, especially with the Jordan 37s, given how cheap the materials were with the Jordan 37s, and the astronomical jump when it comes to the materials overall from the 38s all the way to the 40s. So very nice and premium when it comes to the materials, very comfortable on foot, nice simple aesthetic appeal with a lot of callbacks the more deeper you dig into the shoe itself. Now for the Lockdown, to me, overall, it provides a very good package at the end of the day. Considering the forefoot, you do get the snug feel. That way it keeps the forefoot nice and contained inside. So laterally and vertically, you're not going to move around. In the midfoot, you are going to get an internal cuffed lacing system on both sides of the midfoot. And you also get a pretty much very well gusseted tongue. So you're going to have a nice wrap around the midfoot. And when it came to a tie down, it is nice and clenching in the midfoot, and to add an extra dose of protection when it comes to the lockdown, you are going to get more lace loops on the ankle padding to give you a nice cinch down feel on the top of the midfoot itself. So very contained when it comes to the midfoot, and it helps in the back half of the shoe when it came to the heel containment. Pretty much little to no heel slippage at the end of the day. There was a little bit at the beginning, but the more you tie down the midfoot and with the ankle lockdown that you get as well, it basically cinches the back of the foot very well. That way you experience little to no heel slippage at the end of the day. So top tier when it comes to lockdown, in my opinion, considering the nice fit that you get in the forefoot, the cufflink lacing system, as well as the ankle lacing system that you have, essentially cinching the back half overall when it came to the overall sculpting. So very nice, top tier packaging when it comes to the lockdown itself, and pretty much one of the best in my opinion when it comes to the lockdown itself. Lastly, for the support, when it comes to the lateral support, you're pretty much covered at the end of the day, considering that the entire midsole is a cup sole. So you sit within the midsole itself to give you some nice containment inside the shoe, and you also get more rubber on the outside, giving you a little bit more containment, as well as the leather. You also get a little outrigger here in the forefoot with more backed material in the midfoot, and especially in the heel. And you also get this plastic clip that you get in the back, along with an internal heel counter, to give you some very nice containment as far as lateral support is concerned, compared to the 39s where it didn't really have outrigger when it came down to it. With this, you do get a little bit of an outrigger, which is a nice improvement when it came to lateral support itself. Torsionally, however, it does suffer the same pitfall when it comes to the Jordan 39s, where it didn't have a shank. So when it comes to the torsional rigidity, it's very flimsy at the end of the day, just like the Jordan 39s, and pretty much the same story here. At first, it does feel quite stiff, but the more you break it in, it does resolve the same fate when it comes down to it, because there is no shank, which was kind of a bummer. I was expecting there to be a shank, but unfortunately there isn't, and you can't really do that with the ZoomX midsole as well as the Zoom Strobel. So kind of hard to do when it comes down to it, but it does offer some nice torsional rigidity at the end of the day, because it is a pretty bulky shoe. So when it comes to torsional rigidity, it's pretty much the same as the Jordan 39s, but it does take a little bit more time to break in to get to that level compared to the Jordan 39s. So you will get a little bit more rigidity in the 40s compared to the 39s. And when it comes to the base itself, it offers a pretty wide base here in the forefoot, but it does get a little slimmer in the back. So if you are landing in the heel, you will be prone to rolling your ankle. And considering how forgiving the ZoomX midsole is, it won't take that much force and pressure to eventually lead you to rolling your ankle. But if you land in the forefoot, it does offer you a nice wide base, and very flat too, so you're gonna have a nice stable platform to land on. So at the end of the day, the 40s, when it comes to the support, it's exactly the same as the 39s, but it does take a little bit longer to get to that point. When it comes to the torsional rigidity, at first it does feel a little bit more stiffer compared to the 39s. So if you want more support in the long run, the 40s are a suitable option for you, compared to the 39s, where you experience the flimsiness right away when it comes down to it, because it is very flimsy. So considering that it is a bulkier shoe, it does provide a little bit more balance inside the shoe. So in terms of support, it is a very slight upgrade at the end of the day. So to sum it up for you guys, the Jordan 40s are a good basketball shoe, and in many ways very similar to the Jordan 39s. The traction does take some time to break in when it comes to the warm-up phase and the dusting phase, but it is very similar to the Jordan 39s at the end of the day. The same thing can go for the cushion, but it takes a little bit more time to break in, considering how bulky it is and how heavy it is on foot. But the more you break it in, it does feel similar to the Jordan 39s at the end of the day. Materials are a little bit more on the premium side. You do get a little bit more leather wrapped around, and you get more nostalgic callbacks at the end of the day. Lockdown is also top-notch in my opinion, and the support here or there about is a slight upgrade, considering that it is a lot more bulkier compared to the Jordan 39s. But as far as comparing the two, I would go with the 39s a little bit more, just for performance, because you get the same exact performance in the Jordan 40s, but in the 39s you basically get it right away. And as far as the design goes, I don't think this is a shoe that you play in. To me, it is more of a casual shoe when it comes to the overall look that you get and the nostalgia that you get as well. So at the end of the day, the Jordan 40s to me are more for nostalgia, but the 39s for me are a little bit more on the performance side of things, because you get the same performance in the 40s, but you get it in the 39s a lot quicker and a lot cheaper. So if you want something that is very similar when it comes to performance and you want it right away, I would go with the 39s, and it's a lot cheaper. But if you want more nostalgia, and considering that it is the 40th signature shoe, I would go with the Jordan 40s. But yeah, at the end of the day, it is a good basketball shoe, but something I wouldn't wear when it comes to playing basketball, but more for casual nostalgic appeal. Thank you guys for watching this video. This has been my performance review on the Jordan 40s. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and comment down below on what you think of the Jordan 40s. Were you able to get a pair of the first shoe? I'd like to know your thoughts on how those felt, how those looked on foot, and any other questions that you might have as far as performance. If you think they're better than the Jordan 39s or vice versa, I would also like to know your thoughts on that, as well as any other questions that you might have for me as well. If you'd like to stay up to date with future videos that I'll be posting, hit the subscribe button down below. It'll greatly support the channel as well. And if you do want to see my performance review on the Jordan 39s, I will leave that on the corner of the screen right here. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, all of that information will be in the description box below. I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of your day. I hope this was beneficial to you guys. And until next time, keep shooting.